Okay, we'll start our board meeting, organization meeting tonight. Everybody rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First thing on our agenda is a special action about reorganizing the board. Cody, you want to?
Sure. So just in terms of process, what we would need is we would need a motion to open the board organization and the election of officers. So if somebody would like to make that motion first.
I'll make the motion to open the election of officers.
I second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Next, we would need nominations for the office of Township Board President.
I'll nominate Tom.
I second.
Hold on. So any other nominations?
No.
That's okay. Hearing none, do we have a second?
Yes.
Having a second, obviously this would be time for any discussion if the board
Is
so
there any
shows.
discussion?
Will you accept it?
Oh, yeah.
I will accept the position. Do we have a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay, hold on. So. Thank you. Next, we would need a nomination for the office of secretary.
I'll make a motion to nominate Sherry for secretary.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there discussion, including Sherry, do you accept?
I accept.
Okay. Hearing no additional discussion, would you like to call for a vote, person?
The vote for Sherry as secretary. Aye.
Okay, congratulations. Now,
We need to do a second.
We didn't have a second.
I think we did a second.
Tom made the motion, but.
oh, I have Jason, I recorded
Oh,
Jason's making a second,
okay,
but
all
to
right.
be
I'm
clear,
going to.
Jason made the
Okay.
second,
Okay.
or would you state that for posterity?
I planned on making the second. I just didn't get a chance to.
All right, my apologies.
That's all right.
Okay, so we've got a board president, we've got a board secretary. Now, we need a motion to close the nomination, to close the election of officers for the township board, and then we'll reopen it for the board of finance. Okay, so we need a motion to close the elections for the township board.
Okay, I move we close the elections for the township board.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Township board,
Yes,
motion is closed.
perfect. And then we need a motion to open the election of officers for the board of finance.
I move we open the election for the Board of Finance.
Right. Next, we need a
Second.
yes, we need a second. Thank you.
Second.
All right, so we'll do motion. Second. Okay, then we need a nomination for the Board of Finance Chair.
I'll nominate Jason.
Okay,
I second.
I'll accept.
Is there any other nominations?
okay, hearing none, any additional discussion? All right, hearing none, sir, I'll hand it back to you for a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed
Perfect.
unanimously.
And then finally, we need nominations. I know this is duplicative, but this is something that is specified in law and that Jeff Gunning had reminded me of today, in fact, that we needed to do. I know the board secretary is already Sherry Gasparovic, but we do need to duplicate this and elect a secretary for the Board of Finance. I assume it would be the same individual, but if the board so chose, they do have the opportunity to make that a different person.
I make a motion that Sherry's be the secretary for finance.
Okay. Motion to- Okay, Sherry, do you accept that nomination?
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll hand it back to you, sir, for
Vote for Sherry as secretary?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, folks. We've done our organization. And completed that section of the agenda. We can then move into old business. For old business,
We need to close it?
sure we can. Yeah, so Jason, do you want to make a motion to close the elections?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the elections for, finance chair.
I second.
Sherry's. Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the special election board is closed. And now we'll open up the general meeting portion of our meeting tonight.
Awesome. Thank you all again for that. I appreciate it. Everybody, congratulations on your positions. I know it's the same as last year, but we really couldn't do this without everybody doing these roles. So thank you all for stepping up. As it comes to the old business, as we had discussed previously, the goal here is to move through a backlog of old meeting minutes. One piece of housekeeping, you see the first item on this that says consideration of the meeting minutes from the annual financial report on 2/13/25. We've actually already, it's the very first item under old business. We've actually already approved that, so we can strike that one. But what I would like is I've included copies of all the other meeting minutes in your packet. If you wouldn't mind reviewing them, and then we can pass all of those in a single motion at the end, that would be greatly appreciated.
I was kind of going through them while I was sitting here.
I've already done two as well. So,
Okay, give a motion to accept the minutes for the past year.
can we
The ones
do it in
presented.
entirety or?
Yeah, what I would say
Presented
there's a motion to approve the meeting minutes, starting with February 24th and ending on December 29th of last year.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes starting February 24th, 2025 through, including the special meetings and regular meetings through 12/29 of 2025.
I second.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate that.
All past meetings have been passed. Yeah.
Excellent. That'll get us caught up on our gateway downloads or uploads rather. So thank you. Next, moving into old business. This will look very regular going forward. These are some of those same tasks we have to do every year with related to organization. The first item, actually, I'm going to back up.
Is this under new business or?
On the new business.
This
Yep.
is new business.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I did something I never do. I printed front and back of your agenda. I apologize for that. I should have led with that at the beginning. So there is one item of new business at the bottom page, and then the rest continues on at the back. The fire chief did inform me that their regular business meeting is this evening, so we would like to try and get him out of here so he can go to that meeting as well. Kevin, we're a little close. So if the board is amenable, are you okay with me changing the
Yeah.
format of the meeting so that you can go first? Okay. Yeah, we can go talk about that going forward. But yes, Chief, if you would like to come up to the podium, please, and provide your update and go through the various reports you can provide us. Board members, just so you know, the associated documents will be the last two documents in your folder. There's two different things for this. There's your typical hall reports and then a written update from the chief.
You should have the call reports as Trustee Reynolds noted. For the month of December, there was a total of 162. 40 of those were within the township. The remaining were in the town and the fire district. We ended the year with a total of 1,650. For some reason in our reporting, I'm missing 3 of those numbers for the total of the year. I'm trying to look back to figure out why we're off by 3, but their actual total call numbers ended on the 31st at 1650. That's a little bit lower than what it was last year, by roughly about just over 50 calls. The other thing that we just transitioned to for this year, was the state went away from what they call the knifers reporting and changed it now to what they call nearest. It's a little bit more detailed, which is good in the long run. It will hopefully break down data a lot better as the years go by, because it asks for a lot more data. So once that gets formulated and probably a routine, it'll be a lot better in the long run, because you'll be able to hopefully depict some more data and get a lot more data out of it.
Did you remind me, this was part of what was presented on when we went to that conference on fire service last week? Right?
Yep. The state recommended that everybody switch over at January 1, so we did. And so far, it's been a little rough to get through, because everybody becomes, I guess, routine to the routine, and then once it changes to a little bit more to go through and a little bit longer to do a normal report. But I think overall in the long run, it was a great thing that they actually transitioned to do that. The only other things that I had, we're still waiting for our board to finalize our 26 budget, since we just finalized the last contract that we had outstanding on the 30th of December last week from the fire district. I don't have still the finalized budget yet, but I'm hoping that we will by the end of this week, or at the very latest next week. And then once we do, I'll make sure to get it over to you. We are still waiting on the insurance to get through all the details on the ambulance that was in an accident in November. We still have the other 2 up and in service, and they've been getting kept pretty busy. The pumper tanker is still out. That's been out since the beginning of October. As of last week, before the end of the year, when I talked to the shop, they were waiting for Allison Transmissions to get back to them with a update for the computer or a board or something, that they were waiting for them to get back to them on, from the whole motor swap, transmission swap, to get it calibrated. And they said that wasn't going to be till after the first of the year. Thing. So I have not heard anything as of today. So I'm guessing they're still waiting, but they said they had everything else put back together. They had tested it. It was running good. And they were just waiting for that company to get back to them, so they really get the computer issue solved. When you go from 2025, 2026 back into 97, I kind of figured there was going to be a few bumps in the road. We recently completed the search and rescue class last week. We have a EMS EVOC class scheduled for February for all of our part-time and volunteers to go through. We do have the golf outing scheduled for July 10th. Stop, drop, and donate that we did at the beginning of December, we think went pretty well. We had a whole pickup truckload for you guys and the Porter County Township also. I think overall it was sort of pretty even. It went to both. So that went pretty well. Do you want to talk about the ambulance, or do you want me to?
So two things. I will just add two as well. Really appreciated the coordination this year on Stop, Drop, and Donate, not only the items that were donated to us, but the coordination on the donations of the toys for kids. We together, I think, pulled in more than we have in years past. I know we had 2 or 3 of the bins effectively filled before the day of, so that was really cool. So again, appreciated you and your team's work on that. And we know it went to help a lot of families here in the area. And then before we do get to the ambulance, just one thing I wanted to follow up on. Did we ever hear or get a final notice last year back on the radio grant? Or is that still?
It's still pending.
So we'll just roll forward.
Mhm. It is still pending. I asked about that the beginning of last week, since we were getting to the end of the year, to see if it closed out or not. As of New Year's, it was still in their system as pending. So that is still pending, which is good.
Agreed. Because that was gonna be my follow-up, is if it had can't timed out effectively, would we have to resubmit it? That whole conversation. So good to know.
I know they were looking into it to try to find out how long it was gonna be extended to, since they had some shutdown in the process. I have not heard an answer like department-wide yet back on that.
Yeah, when or if you do anything, let us know.
Okay.
Because I think the board and I are interested in the outcome there and trying to figure out what we might need to do in lieu of that if it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so on to the ambulance. Do you want to frame the discussion and then I'm happy to jump in?
I think it was either October or November when we talked about the ambulance possible replacement the last time. Since then, one of them, which was the oldest, was in an accident in the middle of November. It went into the shop. It got evaluated by the shop along with the insurance. They both said it's not fixable, at least the chassis. The frame was bent in the front, so they both determined it's not really fixable. We're still working with them to get an exact dollar amount, but from recent discussions, they had provided some pretty good numbers. The box on that is still remountable because it was not damaged. Very minimal scratches, so nothing structural. So that box is still good, just the chassis is not. Since then, I've explored the option of doing the remount, since that happened, hopefully quicker, to get it back quicker. And unfortunately, they're booked out all the way into 27. And they're talking like Q1, Q2 of 27, just to get it in. And then it's another 2-3 months of it going through their process before we get it back. So we're looking more towards like the end of 27 before it would come back. And that was through, well, now McQueen, but was Crossroads out of Middlebury. I asked fire service to come out and do a quote also. They never got back to me. And I asked a couple different times to see if maybe they could get us in quicker. But I was also told that initially they're pretty booked also. And that's the main reason they're building that new big facility in Crete, to try to ramp up production and not have so much lead time is what they do. So unfortunately, they never got back to me to actually get a quote. So the option with that is it's still remountable. The only problem is we won't have it to use till probably the end of 27, if I wanted to be conservative. Unless they have something drop out in the meantime, or maybe we could get squeezed, but tentatively that's where it was looking. So we looked at other options of what's available. They're kind of on the same timeline of 24 to 36 months to get a new one. if we ordered one. They do have some available now that are demos. The one, we've narrowed it down to basically two, both by Horton out of Ohio. And the dealer for that is, they have two places, one in Holland, Michigan, and the other one in Atlanta. It's Emergency Vehicles Plus. They gave us two different quotes, one for an F550 four-wheel drive diesel, same size module box, which I believe was the 168 length, which is the largest length that we can get, which is what we have a 170 and I think a 172 right now. So it's a few inches shorter, but that's the longest length that they make right now. I was hoping for a 172 because it's nice to have a few extra inches of space in the back, but that was the longest one we could find. And also with those, from what we've been told, it has a 30-year life on the box. So it is remountable during those 30 years, which if we keep doing them the same, we're roughly 8 to 10 years each remount. So you should get at least three, maybe 4 remounts out of it. The price difference between a that just came off the build line that they built as basically a spec and an unsold unit. There was 2 of those, one of those available, and then there was multiple van chassis of the E450, what we currently have now, in a gas. The F550 4x4 diesel was listed for $350,000 without the options that we need to add, which were very minimal overall, but trying to just make the truck as compatible as to mirror what we have already, with just some oxygen holders, graphics, and some, like we have to put an Opticom in the front for the lights that still take that. We have to do a few minor changes to the back of it, with some other mounts and monitor mounts and things like that. The good news is we can take the radios and the chargers and that stuff out of the other truck and have them put in that truck, and they would also mount that stuff too. So that was roughly around $20,000, in addition to either of the prices of the truck. So the 4x4 diesel was listed for about $350, and the E450S van, which is listed at $288,897. So roughly about $60,000 to $70,000 difference in price between the two. And from what we've looked at and from asking our staff who works out of them, they feel pretty comfortable in the van chassis and kind of want to keep everything as same as we possibly can and not really go a different style and then go back to a diesel when now we have 2 gas. And so far the maintenance on them has been a lot better compared to what we've dealt with in the past in diesel. I don't want to jinx anything, but they've been doing pretty well, and we've been trying to keep up on maintenance to keep them on the road and not in the shop. And overall, we've seen a pretty good cost savings from converting from diesel to gas. So, plus the cost savings up front of $60,000 to $70,000 is the other reason we're leaning towards going that direction. From what we think we're going to be getting from the insurance, which I don't have an exact number yet. I wish I did, but I don't. We think we're gonna get close to that number, of the roughly 300,000 or 308,000 for the gasoline demo model, where we'd be able to hopefully cover that cost. But what we would also need to put into it would be the cot, the power load system, and a power stair chair, which I think is on your second page, that quote. And the quote in there, the power stair chair, we're only doing one. The other stair chairs we have are just manual. They're still good. And actually the one that I'm working with the insurance to see if they will replace, because it was in the truck, was a manual one, where we basically keep still two manual and have one power, which the power would be on like our primary one, have the manual. They did have one available, which saves $1,000 from it being new. It still comes with a full warranty from the day we take delivery of it, which they had a few of those available. And that's in that price quote. So instead of it being $17,652, it would be $10,591, and it would still come with a charger and the full warranty from new. So ultimately what we'd be asking for is if the township would be willing to help us fund the striker equipment portion, and we're hoping to work with the insurance to make up the difference for the actual replacement of the truck. And our goal would be to get hopefully one of the available trucks here to us before the end of the month. And because it's still going to have to go through the state, get it certified, get it approved, graphics done, get all the radios put in it, all of the stuff that they need to do. So our short-term goal is to hopefully have it on the road sometime in February. And then we'll be back up to having 3. So then we can go back to the rotation. Because right now, between both of those trucks, at least as of our last fuel bill, they're both averaging primary and secondary, because they're rotating calls during the day. They're still both averaging well over 1,000 miles a month. And the primary one was almost up to 1,600 miles a month, and the other one was at about 1,100. It's really easy to tell now when we only have the 2 and we're not rotating through them. Where before, we were rotating them out every 2 weeks. So we're trying to keep the miles spread between 3 instead of just 2. So then hopefully we can keep them longer.
Thank you, Chief. So this is, part of a longer conversation, right? We've been talking about this now for really the better part of a year in terms of how we're going to approach the equipment replacement schedule as it relates to the ambulance and as well as the pumper tanker. Sometimes life has a way of working things out for you. I feel like rather than wallow in what has happened with the ambulance in terms of the accident, we look at it as a possible benefit in the sense that we might get some financial assistance in terms of the insurance payout to the fire force to help cover the replacement of this vehicle. In terms of their request, obviously that's the board's purview. The only couple of things I will add to this is, originally Kevin had kind of proposed, and Tom in this meeting, a potential loan from Centir to help pay for this. And that was when we were afraid that we might have a more considerable loss on it than it looks like we might have now. And at the time, one of the things that we really didn't like about that was that at the same time that as we're heading into financial constraints in the future years based on tax bill from last year, we didn't like the idea of us locking into another annual payment while we're already making an annual payment on the engine, right? So One of the things that I think this site kind of revised request does that as a benefit is it is a one-time payment. This is something that we would, if the board so chose to proceed with, it would be a one-time payment. It's not something we would be constrained by in future years. In terms of the feasibility of it, it is certainly possible within this year's budget. Excuse me. Trying to sneeze. I would have to look at the exact figures, which I don't have in front of me, but I know that we budgeted in addition to the 30,000, which is they can claim as part of the contract for their reimbursements. We did budget an additional 50,000 in CUME, and then I know we have more than the remainder in the white fund. So if this is something the board is pursuing, that information can be provided to you at a future meeting, and that where you might decide to make a decision. Other than that, I think the chief did a really good job of explaining the issue and kind of what the two options are. So I will pause and see if you folks have any questions for the chief or for myself.
Only question I had is, what's gonna happen to the old box? Not will the insurance retain that then, or?
No, we get to keep it. So that's probably another discussion, to see what we actually want to do with it. I was gonna try to get probably at least 2 different buyouts from, I know the emergency vehicle company said that they would put a number on it
Okay.
to us for it if they wanted to just buy it, and then they'll essentially take it and remount it. Or the other possibility is if we wanted to potentially get on a schedule for, we could look at potentially doing that 27, 28 timeline. And the only benefit of doing that is you get today's price locked in compared to what it's going to be in a year or 2 from now. And then ultimately we just store it in the parking lot or in the bay until it would go. Because the box is still remountable. It's still good. Yeah, it has some scratches on the side of it, but that will get taken care of in the remount anyway. So that is a possibility to look at. And I wanted to try to get something moving with obviously the replacement back on the road, and then look at those options to see, could there be a cost savings? Probably, with doing that and getting at least another life out of it, especially if you or the town or the district or whoever wanted to do that and plan ahead to say, yeah, we want to lock in the price now, and we're going to plan to go ahead to get it in their queue in 27 or 28.
Where does that fit in with the other, the next rotation of replacement? Which sounds about on the time schedule.
It's close. It's really close. Right now, the other ambulance is a 2020, and that has, I think, just under 60,000 road miles. I don't know what the on it, but I know when it hit 50, we were already way past the threshold on, like, we're already in the hundreds of thousands of miles when you add in the engine out idle time. But we're trying to keep up on the maintenance of it to try to make it last as long as we possibly can. And that was the original remount that we did. And that was also a Horton box that was done. I don't know. That was originally a 2010 box. I don't know if it's remountable again. I'd have to ask. But I think originally what we were told, it was only remountable once. And I think since then they've tried to up the technology and the longer to be more remountable.
It's like, well, I think that's the one that was redone when I was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like 2019, 2020, right? And all the COVID.
Yep. So I thought.
So that's something that we've been thinking about too, of looking at that to say, is this something that we want to consider? Or if it's no, then we'll try to see what we can get somebody to buy it for. And then move on.
And when you lock in right now, you can still back out, if I remember correctly, closer to that time if need be, right?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the contract to see what it actually says.
Okay.
But I know even in the 2 or 3 months that like we've been talking about it, it already shot up
Yeah.
$10,000 to $12,000 when we didn't change one thing on it.
Right.
I just said, hey, I need a price, today's
Okay.
price good. And it came back and he said, sorry, but this is what it is. So that is something to at least think about. And I was gonna try to get some options from them again, and then to look at that company too, because they do remounts on not just Horton brands, but any brand. So I was gonna see if they could give a quote too, and then how long is it good for, and if you could schedule it. But it would come close. You'd be at the roughly almost 8-year mark of the oldest one then. So that is something that could at least consider and look at. And then if it's something that we want to do, then we can plan for it. And if not, then we could try to just see who wanted to buy it.
So what you're looking at is, you think the insurance will pretty well cover the ambulance itself.
Mm-hmm.
What you're looking at for help is the power.
Yeah, so it would be a brand new cot, a brand new and then a demo powered stair chair. And that would be all 3 of those.
And how soon do you need an answer?
I was told we could order it and then they could potentially push the payment even out maybe 60 days. So we do have a little bit of time. So he said that all of them are readily available. They would just need to say yes and then a delivery date and then where they're getting shipped to.
In terms of our meeting dates, and we would have discussed this, but we moved the meeting around a little bit, the agenda. Our next regular meeting would be February 9th, because we're gonna do a regular meeting after we approve the AFR. I know it's not our regular, final Monday of the month, but it's because AFR is due by February 17th. The 16th, which is that Monday, is President's Day, which means that the last Monday to keep it to our normal day at least would be February 9th. But my point is that would be within that window where we could.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Seeing if we have the time.
Yeah, and I did ask that yesterday. I said, can we kind of push the due date for the payment? And he said, yeah. He said, if it's something that we need to do, he said, I can ask for like an extension or an exception. So if that is something that we need to do, we can do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions for the board or from the board? All right. Well, I don't have any for you either, Chief, so thank you again for the presentation on this. Obviously, the board will confer amongst themselves and again in a public meeting. And in the meantime, if anybody has any questions, you can either send them to me or you can send directly to the chief. Whatever the responses, we'll get back out to you. But otherwise, sir, thanks for coming tonight. We appreciate it. I was going to give this to you after the meeting, but since we moved this around, this is the check we gave. You want this one? It's a nice one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the contractual payments, and then it's the 10+ grand that we did for the pumper tanker reimbursement.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your time. Okay. So back to our regularly scheduled agenda. We'll go back to the top there of new business. First thing that we will do is, and again, this is all very regular. So resolution 2026-1, which would be the meeting schedule. So that should be the very first one in your folder. Again, this is just a very regular routine thing that we do. But again, resolution number 2026-1, a resolution approving a schedule of meeting dates for the Winfield Township Board in calendar year 2026. Whereas the Winfield Township Advisory Board serves as the legislative body of the township, and whereas the Township Advisory Board members conduct township business during its regularly scheduled and, if necessary, special meetings, all of which are open to the public, and whereas the Indiana Code requires a governing body to annually establish a schedule of regular meetings. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Board of Winfield Township, Lake County, Indiana. Winfield Township Board will conduct all business meetings in the conference room of the Winfield Township Municipal Building located at this address at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on the listed below. Tonight's organizational meeting is state mandated, first Tuesday after the first Monday in January. But then following the list of all mandated meetings, because certain meetings have specific dates by which they have to be accomplished, as I know the board knows. And then also taking into account our regular meeting date, which was the fourth Monday of every month. And then on top of that, including in the list of holidays and everything, this is kind of what it shook out as. So the first three are kind of odd, but January 6th today is the organizational meeting. January 26th, which would be our natural meeting date, would be the Board of Finance meeting. So that would be the meeting that Jason would lead on. February 9th would be the approval of the AFR. As we just talked about, the AFR has to be approved by the 17th of February, and that 16th is President's Day, so closest Monday. March 23rd gets us to our regular meeting dates. April 27th, same with May 18th. Or no, May 18th is moved up because of Memorial Day, because I think the fourth Monday is Memorial Day this year. June, same thing. It's the regular meeting date. July, regular meeting date. And then the next two, they're still our regular meeting dates, but we had many meetings this year. I want to say 16 or 17. And by this year, I mean in 2025. It's really last year. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to do this in as succinct a way as possible. So what we're going to do is like tonight, where we have our organizational meeting as a special action and then roll into a regular meeting. We'll do that same thing, I hope, for the budget process. So under this plan, August 24th would start with a special action of the budget hearing. We would then have our regular meeting, immediately following that. Same thing in September, we would have the budget adoption as a special action at the beginning of that meeting, and then roll into our regular meeting after that. We'll have our October regular meeting, and then in years past, we have traditionally skipped a November meeting in lieu of an earlier December meeting. So I tried to work that in here, and I picked the December 7th date. Because this year, as you recall, we originally picked December like 15th or 16th, but that was the Monday before our distribution for the Christmas baskets, and this whole room was full of things. We weren't able to use it then. So keeping that in mind and already having built out that schedule, bumped it 1 week earlier to December 7th to just get it on what we need to do for the food pantry. So, if so inclined, this would then be adopted by the Advisory Board of Winfield Township on this day, which is January 6th of 2026. But I will pause and hand the meeting back over to Mr. Snowden for the board's deliberation and vote.
Do we have any other discussions on resolution 2601?
No.
Do we have a motion for that resolution?
I'll make a motion to accept that resolution.
Okay, I'll second.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2026-01 passed unanimously.
Perfect. I'm gonna pass this around. Hang on a second. I'll let my signing that. I appreciate it. Okay. Oh, no. So next then, let's do up so I don't lose this because you know who I am. Next, we have resolution number 2026-2. Again, this is a very regular action. We do this at all the original or at all the organization meetings every year. This is a resolution establishing the legal holidays for employees of Winfield Township, Indiana for calendar year 2026. Whereas IC 36-6-1-1 establishes the township as a political subdivision of the county. And whereas the Lake County Council, pursuant to Indiana Code, has the authority to establish legal holidays for the employees of Lake County, Indiana. And whereas the Lake County Council approved an ordinance establishing the legal holidays for employees of Lake County, Indiana on December 9th, 2025, for January 1st, 26th to January 1st of 2027. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislative body of Winfield Township, Indiana, that the Winfield Township Board has adopted the same list of legal holidays that was approved by the Lake County Council on December 9, 2025, with notable changes due to differences in normal business operations. The list of legal holidays for the township is as follows. So before I read the list of holidays, what I mean by normal business operations is really two things. Number one, our office is only open Mondays through Thursdays. We're not open on Fridays. So if there is a closure on a Friday for a holiday, we generally try and move it one direction or another, either to the Thursday or the following Monday. The only other differences between our list and the county's list is that we do include both primary election day and general election day as a closure date. And that's because, unlike the county building, this building is used as a voting location on election day. And so to be conducting business out of all three sides of this building and navigating the flow of voters into this particular section, we just choose to close. And that has been commonplace since before I was trustee. Those are the only differences we have when compared to the county. I just wanted to clarify what that one line meant. But the holidays in 2026 that you see listed here would be New Year's Day, which is already passed, Martin Luther King Jr. on the 19th, President's Day the 16th, Good Friday, so Easter is early this year, April 3rd, so we will observe it on April 6th, the following Monday. Primary Election Day is already stated, Memorial Day, Juneteenth does fall on a Friday this year, so it's been moved. We will observe it on the day prior, the 18th. Independence Day, same thing. It's a Friday, so we will be closed on the 6th. Labor Day, Columbus Day, General Election Day, as I've already stated earlier. Veterans Day, and then with Thanksgiving Day, we're giving the day before, and we're giving the Wednesday, Thursday off. So the county gave Thursday, Friday. Since again, we're not open on Fridays, we gave Wednesday, Thursday. Christmas Eve, we're gonna do this a little differently, but we're gonna observe Christmas Eve on the 23rd and then Christmas Day on the 24th, because again, Christmas is a Friday this year. So that way, actually similar to how it was structured this year, the ladies would have off, the Wednesday, Thursday before Christmas. And then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day get a little wonky as well because of the way they fall. But we will observe New Year's Eve on December 30th and then New Year's Day on the 31st to again give everybody off that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because the other option for New Year's Day would have been to move it to that first actual Monday in January, and that seems not really appropriate to me to be closed on the first business day of the new year. So unless it's the actual holiday. So we sort of backloaded it, if you will, to give people continuous time off, but then still be open on that first business day of the year. If so inclined, then this would be passed and adopted by the Advisory Board of Winfield Township on this day, the 6th of January, 2026. I will again pause and hand this over to the board president for deliberation and vote.
Do we have any discussion for resolution 2026-02? Do we have a motion for that resolution?
I'll move that we accept this resolution. Regarding the legal holidays for the employees of Winfield Township.
I'll second
Any other discussions? If so, vote. Who's in favor?
Aye.
it.
Aye. Resolution 2026-2 passes unanimously.
Thank you, folks. Hand this one around. See that one second? I think I wrote the wrong date down.
Sure.
I wrote the 26th instead of the 6th. I don't know why.
Oh. Pushing them up along.
Right? Wishful thinking. As Becky would say, how many days are we before spring?
70 something.
She's been counting. But wait, Cody, we just entered meteorological winter.
Forward to.
Right. Here you go, Barb. Thank you again. All right, keeping on down the list. Next item we have is resolution 2026-3. So this resolution we do every year. This one is a little bit different than the ones we've done in the past. I'm trying to do this, trying to set up a rhythm here, and I'm trying to do it up front so we don't have to pass this when we do our AFR, because establishing a paper of record really is most influential when you really have to do it annually for the AFR. But for instance, like when we did last year's special budget appropriation, we had to do that. Now we don't have to do the public notices in the paper for the actual budget anymore. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to do is, instead of passing it as a one-off for the AFR, do it as an all-inclusive statement about all legally required public notices for the township board. So what resolution number 2026-3 says is that it is a resolution establishing a paper of record for all applicable public notices from Winfield Township in calendar year 2026. Whereas the Winfield Township Board serves as the legislative body for the township, and whereas state law requires the township annual financial report, also known as the AFR, to be published pursuant to Title V of the Indiana Code, stating in Part D that if no statutorily qualified newspaper is published in the public political subdivision, meaning the township, then publication shall be made in a newspaper published in the county that circulates within the political subdivision. And whereas Indiana Code, same section, but Part F, allows the township its discretion to publish public notices in a qualified publication or additional newspapers to provide supplementary notification and additional transparency to the operation of township government. And whereas House Enrolled Act 1266 from 2014 eliminated the mandate for local government entities to publish physical budgets in the newspaper, the need for a physical public notice printed in a qualifying newspaper remains for other government processes, including but not limited to the additional budget appropriation process and other applicable chapters of the Indiana State Code. And whereas, because the Northwest Indiana Times and the Post Tribune have historically been the only statutorily qualified newspapers printed in the county and which circulate within the township, they have therefore traditionally been used to publish legal notices. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Board of Winfield Township, Lake County, Indiana, that the trustee of Winfield Township is authorized to publish the annual financial report for fiscal year 2025, as well as any other applicable notices in calendar year 26 in both the Northwest Indiana Times and the Post Tribune newspapers, in order to increase the transparency of public business beyond statutory requirements. So this does two things. It names the public of record, the paper of record for all public notices that we're going to do as being both of them. And then the second thing it does is it actually says why we're picking both instead of doing just one. And that's because, as the last line of this says, we are doing that in order to increase the transparency of public business beyond statutory requirements. So just wanted to emphasize those two components. Again, if so desired, this resolution would be passed and adopted by the Advisory Board of Winfield Township, Indiana, the 6th day of January 2026. And again, I will pause and hand it to the board president for deliberation.
Any other discussions on resolution 2026-2 or 3?
Nope.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 2026-3.
I second.
Any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2026-3 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Down for signatures. We're in the home stretch, friends. Sherry, you made that motion, right?
No, Jason did.
Thank you.
Yes, Jason did this one. I did the last one.
And then you might be in bed, but not at home.
Okay. All right. Next. Next, we're going to move on. The next item under new business is receiving the 2026 pay schedule for employees and township officers. So as you know, this is our second year doing, third year. This will be the third year with the,
No, I think this is,
no? No, let's do the second one, because the first year would have
Just the
been
second.
23. Well, we've done two,
24 and 25.
right, so this would be the third year. This would be the third year with the
Starting
bi-week-
third,
Yeah, this would be the third year of the biweekly pay schedule. As you know, we changed that, beginning with 2024. So this document provided by Barb, thank you again, Barb, for doing this. Lists the different pay periods. It lists like the deposit date, because as we all know, it kind of tends to hit on different things. So those are the anticipated deposit dates. And then if you turn the page, it's just kind of a handy schedule, with the periods marked out for you with the, I believe the deposit dates circled. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Again, thank you, Barb. I know that's not easy to figure out always. Thank you.
I like these.
Next, we'll move on to the report from the Township Trustee, which would be me. So what this is this is going to get you kind of halfway to a full picture for 2025 from both Township Assistance and Food Pantry. However, you will actually get a full 2025, full year one of these at our next meeting. You'll get that as part of the FY. But for Township Assistance, so this would be through December of last year, we received a total number of initial applications of 33. So that means there were 33 different families that filed at least one application with us last year. There was one new one in the month of December. In addition to that, we had 44 continuing applications, 5 of which were new in December. But what that means is, of those 33 families, a significant portion of them, potentially all of them, submitted a second request. I know not actually all of them did, but what this shows you is that we have several families that submitted multiple requests for assistance last year. Out of those 77 total applications, 22 of them were approved in full, 48 of them were approved in part, and 7 of them were denied. If you turn the page real fast, you have the detail report that Becky puts together for us each month. So again, this is just for that month of December. You'll get the full detail report for the full year, later, like we just discussed. But you can see here where, really we had to be very careful using the last portion of our budget for 2025 to help cover as many bills as we could for everybody who applied. We weren't able to help everybody completely, as you can see on here. For instance, the one new initial application we took in the month of December, we ultimately had to deny. And that was an unfortunate case because it was a situation where I wish we could have helped, but there were multiple reasons why we couldn't. And you'll see that listed, that's the 2025-17 case number there towards the bottom where it just lists housing. You'll see there, that's one where we denied, and actually lists initial there next to it. That's pretty awesome. I didn't know you could do that, Becky. That's cool. How it lists initial here, the side. That's cool. I may have forgotten, but that's neat.
Yeah, it's like that every month.
Okay. But yes, you can see there what we helped with. Again, you can see where we had to kind of pick and choose which bills we were going to help with in order to keep the households going, but also keeping in mind what our financial constraints were there at the end of the month, or end of the year rather. Any questions on Township Assistance before I go into Food Pantry? Okay, so Food Pantry usage for the month of December, total number of visits, and again, this does include Christmas. So total number of visits was 59. That represents 52 individual households, and that's 127 different individuals. Of those 52 households, 11 of them were new. And of those individuals, 36 of them were new. And then out of those 11 new households, 9 of those were non-residents. So another way to look at that is out of the 11 new clients we had for the Food Pantry last month, only 2 of them came from within the township. The number of non-resident individuals served was 24. So again, out of the 36 new families, 36 new individuals served, 24 of them were out of the area, 12 of them were in the township. Total pounds of food received last month, I think our largest month ever, 4,902 pounds. Ask Becky. We could not have fit another thing in here if we had tried, as evidenced by the conference room. And then total amount of pounds of food donated was 3,739. So not our largest month in terms of what we donated back out, but we still had a very significant impact by what we were able to give out for Christmas. Becky, do you happen to remember the pounds we get? I want to say it was like 1,800 pounds just for Christmas of food, wasn't it? Yeah, well, I can bring that back for you, but we did work on that, and I'm sorry, that's my fault, for not remembering that. But I will tell you that we did have more baskets that we put together for Thanksgiving than we did for Christmas, but that's not uncommon. Because while we are totally okay with folks coming to us regularly and also going to Holy Spirit and using their food pantry for their regular stuff, when it comes to these holiday baskets, we tell them it's one or the other for each holiday. And we typically see a larger number, or we have typically seen a larger number of respondents picking us for Thanksgiving rather than Christmas, because again, same thing with there, you can only do one or the other. You can do their Christmas or the Thanksgiving, but for Christmas they give out presents with the food basket. So oftentimes our families will prioritize taking advantage of the baskets we provide for Thanksgiving and then going to Holy Spirit for the Christmas one. So that's why we do sometimes see that drop. But I will tell you, the amount of food we gave out in those baskets was very comparable to prior years, even if it was just a little bit smaller. But in truth, last year we carried a higher variety of what I would call somewhat random items. For instance, one that sticks out is we had a much wider variety of nuts than we have this year. I think we had like 3 or 4 different types of nuts by this point last year. And this year we have 2. So different things like that impacted it. In terms of the spend though, and I thought this was really cool. Becky and I figured out, and I don't know the numbers for the larger sized families, but for a family of 1, we figured out that the average cost of just the things we bought at the store would have been about $138 per family. And we actually spent, I want to say like 31 or 32. So in terms of return on investment, it's very high. And again, I think that shows good stewardship and planning. The other thing that I will give all of the credit to these ladies too is that while we definitely had a good time with our Thanksgiving basket process, we have just continued to improve our coordination and how we get this done. And to the point to where we all by ourselves felt, individually, and then came together later and said that not only was the process of putting together the Christmas baskets our best one yet, but the actual day of distribution for Christmas was our best one yet. It was something that we actually were able to enjoy and personalize, mingle with the clients and everything. So just really want to say thank you to both of you, because it's certainly I couldn't have done it by myself.
Honestly,
And
if you came in here, there was food from there all the way around, plus that table had food on it. And Cody was here at 1 a.m. on Saturday night, putting all the cases from back there and everything, plus all the stuff he went out and bought. So yeah, we put it together, all of us, but he did the moving, it's heavy.
Thank you, all of you.
Yes, thank you very much.
They're really grateful, our people, and makes it all worth it.
Mhm.
it does. When, the routine expression is wow, because they can't believe they're getting this much, and they've been with us for years, so you'd think but
Couple of years
Still
ago, we
big
started getting the TJ Maxx bags, because they're always have nice, decorative for the holiday. And Becky had the idea to do the canned goods, when you go grocery shopping, what a pain that is, and leaving them in a case like they come in from the grocery store.
Mhm.
And so we had 3 stacks of canned goods and the full bag, plus the turkey or ham, plus eggs and margarine and milk and,
frozen fruit. I think we
frozen
gave out
fruit.
fish nuggets as well, because
We got little Cinnabons.
we had extra. We had little mini Cinnies. Although we didn't put as much of an emphasis on it this time, we did still include a lot of those foods we gave out last year for the New Year celebration, because again, fish, navy beans, the lentils, those different things. Those are all considered like good luck foods too as well. So it wasn't, Barb last year put together a nice little package for them. We didn't do that part of it, but we still emphasized it.
Because most of our plants probably already got last year, we'll maybe do it again next year.
Yeah, so, but it,
They,
we still,
Yeah, they're very great. They can't believe it, really.
Yeah.
They're very grateful.
so. Any questions on food pantry before we keep going? All right, to round this out, building maintenance. That's the next thing in here, alert alarm. So they have to do two things. Number one, they're putting in 2 new strobes. So the strobes that, light up and say, flash, and then the voice from God comes down and says, you must leave, fire, you must leave. Not like we haven't heard that many times.
Well, I don't think you were here the day that the kid came to clean the carpet upstairs.
Oh, you told me that too, though, yeah, but they were here all day yesterday doing this. So, the bill for that is $595. My plan was to pay for that just out of the fire other category and 1111, the fire general, which is just that kind of catch-all. It's a small amount, so we don't actually even need board approval, but nonetheless, I wanted you to see it, so you know what we're spending it on. Do you have any questions about that? We will have one other bill that comes up that's generated from this month. The town had 2 different outlets, one on that side over here by the building department, and one of them that I think was in here on the new side. The outlet over there had actually sort of looked burnt out. I was kind of concerned about it. Another one over here was just loose in the socket. Either way, both have been fixed. The town's electrical inspector, his company actually did the work, so they gave us the benefit of that as well. So the whole thing's gonna cost like $116. But I just wanted to let you know that. I don't have the thing in front of me for you though. But those are the 2 building maintenance issues that I've had for you at this point in time. Any questions on those?
Nope.
Okay. Last, I know we just had a meeting literally like 7 days ago, or 8 days ago. So I didn't put together the whole normal monthly financial report because I didn't really think it was necessary at this point. What I did give you, and again, what I appreciate Barb's help on today, was the cash balances. But a couple things that I do want to just show you is this does reflect the movements of money that we made at the end of last month. So like, for instance, when we transferred $15,000 from Township General to the rainy day fund, that's there. The Township General, as you saw where it says balance for, or when it says rainy day balance for $27,420, we added 15,000 to it, making it 41,600, which is nice because that's the same balance we had at this time last year. So while yes, we did spend money out of it, that fund balance would appear unchanged. And so I think that's good going forward, as we've already talked about multiple times, heading into kind of a period of some financial uncertainty with state legislation. Obviously, by the same comparison, you can see that the Township General went down, well, went up and down. So it started the month with, $245,000 in change. We obviously added that second tax drop that we talked about already the last meeting at the end of last year, where we got the December distribution. So that went in, and then of course that 15,000 that we just talked about came back out. So if you recall, at the end of the last meeting, that Township General cash balance would have been a little over 3,000 or 300,000, but not 314, $350,000. It's obviously now just a little under. So you can see that reflected. What you can't see reflected in here is those transfers within the funds that we did, where we moved money around within the Township General Fund and then within the Parks and Rec Fund. All of that has been done. And again, a big thank you to Barb, because neither of those things are things we do all the time. And so I always say it takes a village with us, but really it took a village because we both had to sit there and be like, I know how to do this, but I just don't remember how we did it. But true to form, we put our heads together and we figured it out. So again, I'm not going to say this is your final cash balance for 2025. There are a couple other things we're going to do, but this is very close to a final cash balance for the end of 2025. And again, you'll get that final cash balance for 2025 at the AFR meeting. So you'll get all of that in one sitting. Any questions on the finances? Okay. Last but not least, then we'll go into announcements. So as is indicated on resolution 2026-2, Our next meeting is the annual Board of Finance meeting. That's Jason's favorite meeting of the year. That will be held on Monday, January 26th at 6:30 PM, same place. Other than that, sir, that finishes the agenda that I have, so I'll hand it back to you, Board President, to make a final call for any business before the board, and then adjourn it.
We have any other business for the board? If not, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.